Okay, everyone. So just while we wait for Emma, it might be worth all of us just introducing ourselves. So if I just start off, my name's Harvey McDowell. I work for Mazars based in our Sutton office, which is just around the South London area. I am a senior in the corporate tax team, and I joined as a school leaver about 4 years ago now. So I'll pass on to anyone else who wants to start.
Thanks, Harvey. I think we're back in the room now. Thank you so much for taking that back. But yeah, let's continue introductions. So yeah, Joe, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm from the pool office. I work in audit, and I've been here for just about a year now.
Thanks so much, Joe. I've got Sophie next, if that's all right.
Hello there, I'm Sophie. I've only joined this September and I'm in the London office.
That's great. Thanks so much, Sophie. And then last but not least, we've got Namita. I don't believe I missed your introduction yet. It was just Harvey when I left.
Hi, my name's Namita. I'm in audit in the London office, specifically privately owned businesses, and I just passed 6 months here in Mazars.
That's great. Thanks so much, team. So yeah, I'll finish off for us. So my name's Emma. So I work as part of the early careers team, specifically within early careers recruitment. So yeah, so a pleasure to be here and to welcome you to our session today. So we're going to be talking about Mazars as a whole, and we're also going to be delving into top tips for success at professional service interviews. So without further ado, Joe, if you wouldn't mind popping over to the next slide, that'd be brilliant. So what are we going to cover? So thank you so much, Harvey. Obviously, we've covered individual introductions. That's brilliant. So as I said, we're going to discuss who are Mazars and what are we up to this season. We're going to pop into our skills session, as I just said, which is top tips for success throughout the interview process within professional services firms. And then we're also going to discuss our recruitment process, what professional skills we look for and competencies, and then we're going to end with a Q&A session with the team who have just introduced themselves. So hopefully you'll come away today feeling a little bit more informed in terms of who we are, what we do, and then next steps if you are interested in a career with us. So Joe, if you wouldn't mind popping over to the next slide, that'd be fantastic. So who are we? So about Mazars, so Mazars is a accounting and financial firm. Sorry, Joe, if you wouldn't mind popping over again for me, that'd be brilliant. Thank you very much, my glamorous assistant. So Mazars is a accounting and financial firm, so specializing in accounting and outsourcing, advisory and consulting, audit, business services, private client, and tax services. So we've got lots of different types of specialisms there. So in the UK, Mazars is among the largest of its firms in its sector, employing over 2,500 people in 15 different locations, 13 of which that we actually employ for our early careers positions. And they are all over the country as well, but we'll go further detail later on about that. So the firm has got a distinctive one-team approach, so people are encouraged to grow and develop to be their true self, whatever their background, culture, or generation. And our teams are given early responsibility and client exposure from the beginning of their careers. And we've got a real good coaching culture delivered through technical excellence to help support this. So Mazars offers the opportunity to gain a professional qualification whilst earning a competitive salary and gaining invaluable professional work experience. And it's also the leading international professional services firm. So we're united partnership across the globe, delivering exceptional quality in audit, accounting, tax, advisory, and consulting, as we already discussed. And it's also an amazing place to learn and grow. So our business is an engine for rapid and consistent career progression, and we are known for giving ambitious people an early responsibility and exposure from the start. And that's why we believe Mazars is the smart choice. Joe, if you wouldn't mind popping over for the next slide for me, please. So a little bit about the sectors that we serve. So our work touches every sector and all kinds of public and private organizations, from agriculture to zoology. So to be there for our clients, we need a deep understanding of the sector-specific trends, issues, and markets that they're facing. So by developing strong sector-based expertise, we can anticipate client needs and help them seize market opportunities. So really focusing on those specialisms again, that's what really sets us apart from the crowd. And we build that expertise through international sector communities, which bring together our experts from across the globe and share profound sector knowledge and a keen understanding of local context and culture. So it's an incredible opportunity to learn about the whole range of industries and sectors direct from your colleagues. Joe, if you wouldn't mind to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. So progression at Mazars. So at Mazars, we really care about your aspirations. So we offer an excellent technical grounding and real responsibility from the start, with early exposure to clients, partners, international assignments, just to name a few. And we have a culture of coaching. So this important is feedback, mentorship, one-to-one support. You'll also learn from working closely with accessible colleagues and leaders who have so much to share. So it really is a collaborative working environment. And then hopefully as well, you'll have the tools to support to reach your full potential with all of that support in place. So you'll also gain a professional qualification. So you'll be earning a competitive salary as well, and gaining, as we said, invaluable work experience. So you can see some of the qualifications on the slide at the moment. And also, as I said, so these are ACA, CA, ACCA, AAT, ATT, CTA, CII, and MSc in Applied Data Science. Now, I know that probably feels like a lot of letters for you right now, but hopefully, if you do further down the line look at a career with us, that will hopefully make a lot more sense to you in terms of the different opportunities that we provide. And we also, like I said, we offer a diverse range of experiences with prestigious clients and a dynamic projects across a range of sectors. So we offer individuality design career paths that help you pursue your interests and match your changing needs and explore your true potential. If we can have the next slide, Joe, that'd be brilliant. Thank you very much. So our journey. So as you can see, we've had pretty sustainable growth from the start. So Robert Mazars, it's actually it is a French name, so it was his namesake. So he started the business up in 1945. So since then we grew. Coming up to 1995, we grew to an international SME. So Mazars counted 100 million euros in revenue with around 1,000 professionals in 1995. So worldwide growth led to 500 million euro revenue in revenue and 5,000 plus professionals across 38 countries. An expansion took us again to 2019 across to the US and Canada. So Mazars at this point reached a revenue of 1.8 billion euros with around 24,500 professionals across 91 integrated countries. So at 2020, so current successes, we reached 2 billion in revenue. And for future growth, we're looking around the 23-24 mark. We're aiming for 2.7 billion euros. So that's about a 40% growth for us. So big targets, lots of work to keep us busy, and lots of clients to work with. So it's all very exciting for us. So Joe, if we can have the next slide, please, that'd be brilliant. Thank you very much. So Mazars in the world. So this is just to give you a little bit of an overview in terms of where we reach out to. So you can see we've got quite a number of offices spread across the globe. So our span does reach to around 295 offices, and we're currently at around 22, more than that, 23,000 people all over the world. So I must mention, however, as you can see, we have also recently pulled out of Russia just due to the current conflict at the moment. If we can have the next slide, please. So Mazars in the UK. So we recruit students on a national basis into 13 of our 16 UK-wide offices. So you can see the spread across the map there. So obviously we go all the way up from Glasgow and Edinburgh all the way down to our Bristol and Poole offices. So we are we've pretty much got the whole of England covered, and Scotland as well. So that equates to about 2,500 professionals. That makes made up by about 130 partners, and as I said, 16 offices, of which 13 we hire into. And our UK fee income is approximately £205 million as well. So again, lots of business and clients UK-wide to keep us all busy. If we could have the next slide, please. Thank you. So culture and engagement. So how do things work at Mazars? So what is our culture? So organizational culture can mean different things to different people, but to me, it's how things work around here. So we have a flat hierarchy. So anyone from trainee to partners sit in the same space together. Our culture is inclusive. So we want each and every person to bring their whole selves to work and to focus a huge amount of time and effort on seeking to improve in this area. So that's something that's really, really important to us. COVID has also changed how we work. So our approach to being hybrid is a mix of being in the office and working remotely. I would say when we consider are we working with, we're always taking into account, I guess, what's best for our clients, our teams, and ourselves. So that's really important to us, is that it works as well for our home life. So this brings me on to the good wheel people, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. So as I can say, so good people are the heartbeat of our firm, basically. And we believe that in employing good people, they will make good work. So when they deliver good work, with a real focus on quality, which is why quality is in the center of the wheel there. We will attract good clients. So with that, if we have good clients, they will in turn pay good fees for the work that we've done. And then with that, we have good reward, which we will feed back into the business and back to our good people. So it's a lovely cycle. It works really well for us as a business model. And that's something that we are, really proud to sort of see that cycle ongoing. So it's just delivering more good people, with that good reward, we can employ more good people, and the cycle starts all over again. So if we can pop over to the next slide, please, that'd be brilliant. Thanks, Joe. So Mazars, so what are we up to this year? So next slide, please. Thank you kindly. So as you can see, we've been busy the past few months. So we've been at 80 plus careers fairs on campus this season. So we sort of started around September time, and we're just kind of wrapping those up now. So it's been a busy few months on campus. As you can see in the picture on the right hand side, that's some of our team members out on site at careers fairs. So you might have seen us on site perhaps. So that was split across on-campus, virtual and in-office events. We've been running skills sessions like the one that you're on at the moment. We've also got our brand ambassadors on campus. So they potentially will have been in touch with you on campus. We've got society sponsorships again. So we're running events with them on campus as well. And we've got lots of fun stuff in the pipeline with our societies and clubs. We've also been holding in-office sort of taster events as well for apprenticeship and graduate program taster evenings. They've been going on the past couple of weeks. And then also insight events, competitions, webinars, and lots more. And that's going to continue throughout the season as well. So do keep your eye out for anything else that we're going to be doing across the season. Thanks, Joe. If you wouldn't mind popping over to the next slide. So hopefully by now you know a little bit about us at Mazars. So we're now going to move on to our skills session, which is, like I said, top tips for success at professional service interviews. Okay, so let's get started. So number one, getting to grips with the types of questions that you might face. So knowing how the interview will run and considering the different types of questions you might be asked during the interview should help you when practicing coming up with answers. So having a better idea of what's coming up should also help ease you with your nerves. And while there are different interview style questions explained above, you can also get a mix of questions. So it's kind of important that you get a good idea and of how to tackle all of them and take all of them into consideration when you're carrying out your practice interviews. And you should always send a polite email just to ask what to expect in the interview in order to better prepare. It's always a good option. But again, it might be that the recruiters won't want to give that away, in which case it's best not to count on that being the case and just to practice all different types to make sure that you're prepared for your interview. So during a face-to-face, phone or video interview, there will be a set of predetermined questions, and you may also be asked for a few more specific questions about experience mentioned in your application, or encouraged to expand on or clarify your answers. And then a face-to-face or live video interview might be held across as a standalone interview or as part of an assessment centre, which could run virtually or in person. So top tip here, so take the time to practice responding to those tricky interview questions, and it will mean you're less likely to be thrown off track when you are asked a tough one during the interview. So whether or not the questions come up, the exercise will be a really good way to train your brain to sort of question, to answer questions logically, and then to give a clear and considered explanation to these. So question time. So I'm going to ask everybody to get involved on the next section, if that's okay, please. So you've got the chat box in the on the webinar. So feel free just to pop your answers in. And team, if you wouldn't mind fielding that for me, that would be fantastic. So we've got our interview question. So Joe, if you wouldn't mind popping over to the next slide. So we want you to rank the strongest to least strongest answer to our interview question below. So our interview question is, Jess, I can see here you scored a D in your GCSE maths. What happened there? So question or answer number one, I should say. I don't really know why, to be honest. I retook it though and I got a B. Answer two, I changed schools halfway through the year and I found it tough to get my head around the new coursework, which meant I didn't get the initial result that I wanted. Even though getting that initial D was disheartening, I was determined to keep revising and I even sought out a tutor to help me with the coursework. I did retake the exam and I got a B. Or option three, I tried hard, however, I didn't get the initial result that I wanted. I retook the exam and got a B. So if we can pop in the chat form, if you can rank those from strongest to least strongest, that would be fantastic. Yeah, I'm just looking at those now. So the strongest answer seems to be number two. And yes, we're developing a pattern here, guys. I don't know if you can see also, but we've got 231, 231. That feels about right. So Joe, if you want to pop up to the next slide, that'd be brilliant. Thank you very much. So yeah, there you go, guys. So you can see option two is the strongest answer. So just to explain that in a little bit further detail. So acknowledging that you had a setback, you explained how you rectified the situation and how through determination you managed to turn that around. And we think that's a really strong answer because it can show the interviewer that you're acknowledging a failure, you're showing key skills, like we said, determination, confidence, and more importantly, honesty. It's okay just to admit that, you might have dropped the ball or something happened. That's absolutely fine. It's how you work around that and how you overcome that, which is what we find impressive. So option number one, we think is probably the weakest answer in this scenario. It's pretty vague and unclear, and it would kind of concern an interviewer. It feels like you're sort of hiding something. And number three is a better answer. So it's explaining it wasn't quite the result you wanted. However, you managed to get a better grade. Doesn't quite hit all the points, however. So if we can pop over to the next slide, please, Joe, that'd be brilliant. So I'm just going to explain to you what we call the STAR method. So the reason why the answer that we gave in the previous question was the strongest is because we think it follows what we call the STAR method. So a brief understanding of the STAR method, you've got S for situation, so the situation that you had to deal with, T for task, so the task you were given to do, A for action, the action you took, and R, the result. So what was the result of your action and what have you learned from that experience? So if we can pop over to the next slide, I've just got another example of the STAR method for you there. So an example of how you could use the STAR method in an interview. So we've got an interview question here. So tell me about a time when you have shown leadership skills. So situation. So in my previous internship, the company wanted to get more people to sign up to a newsletter, which wasn't receiving a lot of attention. So the task, my job was to find a way of getting more people to sign up. The action, I organized a meeting with other important members of the team to come up with creative ideas, and I led the social media campaign to generate interest in the revamped newsletter. And R for result, over a period of 3 months, there was a 25% increase in sign-ups to the newsletter, and the approach I took was used by the management team in other departments. So you can see here, guys, using the STAR method, you really are able to give a stronger answer. It shows a clear and methodical in your thinking, and also that you're able to structure and articulate your point more clearly. And that demonstrates your ability to communicate effectively and confidently. So if we can pop over to the next slide, that'd be brilliant. Thanks, Joe. So moving on to step number 2, so researching the company. So couldn't sort of push this anymore as being important. It's actually, funnily enough, what most people tend to fall down on an interview is that they haven't researched the company properly. They don't really understand the job. So really, really important one is to sort of return to that employer research that you did potentially when you made your original job application and build on that. And also fresh research will remind you what attracted you to the job in the first place, and it will help you to anticipate those interview questions. So good place to start. So look at the organization's website for details of recent work or clients that interest you, and think about how you could contribute to what the employer does. Also, take a look at any social media accounts for employers that they have, and search their name on news websites in order to ensure that you're as up to date as possible. And then a top tip for you here, so research competitors too, and think about how their approach compares to the employer that you're interviewing with. So that will depend on the industry and role. But just as an example, if you're looking to work in marketing for a fashion retailer, perhaps take a look at other fashion retailers and clothing brands within the market. Have a look at their products online or in store, and think about any similarities and the differences between this and the approach for the potential employer that you're looking to join. So if we can go to next slide, thanks, Joe. So thinking about yourself, again, a really important one here. So recruiters want to know what unique skills that you can bring to the role. And so it's important to think through your work experience and the skills and interests that you've developed at school or university and how these relate to that area of work or job. So we want you to, or I would say it's best to list your achievements and activities. So if you've worked for clubs, societies, if you've got any interests or hobbies, internships, work placements, voluntary work, casual work, the list is endless. So just have a real good think about all the different types of things that you've been getting, that you've been involved in up to this point, and then make notes on the skills that you've learned and how you can use them, and also what you've contributed to different situations. So again, it's sort of working through those skills and sort of, where you can see them, that you've potentially used them in a previous or in past. And then add a note explaining how these would show your suitability to fulfill a certain job, or job requirements, and then to show how you're suited to the employer. Again, so does it show any shared values, anything like that at all? So it's a really good exercise just to help you feel a bit more confident as well. We're all what's the word? We're all at risk of falling into imposter syndrome a little bit. So I think it's a really nice exercise to make you realize, actually, I have got lots of strengths and skills and attributes that I can bring to a firm and a job. So yeah, I would definitely recommend you think about yourself. And then a top tip there as well is to review your CV and application form. So to think of how you can expand on any examples and skills, and consider some alternatives. So for examples, if you've got different examples, which would be best to highlight for the particular job. Okay, so again, tailoring that to the job that you're going for is really important. So moving on to point number 4, so considering questions to ask at the interview. So interviewers will expect you to show a keen interest in their organization. So use the research that you've already done to think of, I would say, at least 3 questions to ask the employer, and then another 3 about the job itself. So you can write these down, you can take them to the interview as a reminder if you want to, that's absolutely fine. And then a top tip here for you is just to remember that interviews are a 2-way process. So don't just choose questions that you think is going to show off your knowledge of the business, but also ask those that you think will help you walk away out of the interview with a better sense of what it would be like working there. So you can see on the screen, we've got some examples there. So how can I make a good impression during the first few months of working for you? What do other grads or new starters enjoy when they start working here? And what do they find most challenging? How have other students or grads found juggling study with work? Can you tell me a bit more about the team I'll be working with? A little bit more about the working environment? What do you like about working here? And what sort of training will I receive? So they're just pretty general, but obviously it's just to give you a bit of a flavor of the kind of questions that you can be asking at interview. So if we can go to the next slide, I've got another interactive section for you all. So if you can all pop back into the chat, that would be brilliant. So we're going to do a little bit of a quick fire round. So just going off the back of that last point that I've just made about asking questions at interview, I'd love for you all just to pop into the chat for us. What we want to know, I guess, is what you think is important to find out when speaking with a potential employer. So for example, values of the firm, team dynamics, estimated workload. So you can get as creative as you like, but if you can just pop that into the chat for us, that'd be brilliant. And then team will get you to shout some answers out if that's okay. So we'll see what's coming in shortly. I can see people are typing. And give people a few seconds. I think this one might be able to take a little bit longer to type out than 231. So firm's culture, I can see. What does career progression look like at the firm? Yeah, that one's come up a couple of times. It's a great answer, guys. Why? Why do they believe their firm is better than competitors?
It's like
Yeah, a really good
advantage,
question.
that one, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, Harvey. Yeah, really good point. And actually, guys, just to put you on the spot, if there's anything as well that you think you like to always ask about when you're at interview, or potentially if you can remember back to your interviews, if it wasn't too long ago, Sophie, the sorts of questions that you were asking as well, that's always helpful. Let's see what else we've got coming back in. So work-life balance, yeah, really good one there. Yeah, firm's USP again. Yeah, career and promotion process. Brilliant, guys. These are all really, really great answers. And it just goes to show, doesn't it? It's always really important to ask questions because it is just as much an opportunity for you to find out about the firm as it is us. So really take that opportunity to ask those questions, and, don't be shy. Brill. So we'll move on to the next section, if that's okay. So planning your pre-interview routine. So hopefully, now that you've got everything ready, or that you're in the right frame of mind, and this is now literally just the logistics of getting yourself ready for your interview. So it's important that you've got everything ready for the interview, and that will help avoid a mad rush that leaves you feeling and sometimes coming across as stressed, and will also help you get a little bit of sleep before the day itself. So it's a really good idea to plan things like, what are you going to wear, what's your journey like, have you got if it's in person, have you got your train tickets booked, for example, have you given yourself enough time to get there, are you walking, all those sorts of things. So it's always best doing that a couple of days before, just to make sure you're not going to have any stresses on your way to your interview. If it is virtual, just making sure that your device is all good to go and you've got your device on charge. It's not waiting for any updates. You've not got any, your Wi-Fi is not going to be down at home or anything like that at all. So again, just making sure that you're all ready to go for that. And then anything that you'll take with you. So having your CV to hand or your application form, having that all printed out or ready to go on your device or whatever you may well be using. It's always helpful to get that done before the interview. Again, just to avoid you feeling stressed just before. And also, again, remember, you can also take things with you into the interview process. It's absolutely fine. So if you want that additional backup of having that printed out, you absolutely can do. Okay. And then again, so your routine before booting up your laptop or heading out at the door. So that may well be a quick skincare regime, and that's going to boost your, confidence, or explaining to your little sister as to why she can't come in and pester you tomorrow morning in your room once you've got the door closed. All those sorts of things that's just going to help you feel a bit more relaxed before the interview itself. And then top tip again. So like I said, if you are prone to forgetting things, I have fallen foul of this a few times myself. As opposed to stressing out the door, forgetting, or like I said, forgetting things after you've left the house, just pop yourself a little list together. Just have a think about it the night before when you're a little bit more calmer. I like to do that. I just like to put a little list on my phone of the things that I need before I go out the door, if I've got a big meeting or an event going on, and it stops me from forgetting things, which I am quite proud to do, I have to say. It's something I'm working on, but I'm making my list. That's what's important. Okay, guys, if we could pop over to the next slide, that'd be brilliant. So getting ready to interview, or so to manage those interview nerves. So first of all, I just want to say it's completely natural to feel nervous before an interview. I think if you don't feel nervous, you probably don't want the job enough. And that's always a good sign to me that, if you are nervous, it means that you're in the right place and that you really want to be at the firm. So congratulations, first of all, for doing all the hard work of getting to the interview. But again, don't let it panic you. Everybody is natural. It's like I said, everybody feels nervous sometimes, and it's completely natural. Okay. But if you are prone to particular fear-induced reactions that could jeopardize your chances, do think about these before the day, just so that you've got a chance to find a way to overcome them as best you can. Okay. So when you are in the interview as well, remember, it's fine to pause before responding, to ask any questions and to gather your thoughts. And if you're unsure about a question, it's also always fine to ask for clarification. So don't be scared to say, I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you repeat the question for me? It's always quite handy if you're on virtual, actually. You can always use the excuse of technical difficulties. And also another couple of tips just to help you relax before your interview. So these are just, like I said, it's just a few ideas. Obviously, you do whatever works for you, but there's always meditation. You can take a walk. There are breathing exercises you can do, exercise in general. So any sort of, workout would be great for you. You can get boosting those endorphins for you. Or listening to music. That one tends to work pretty well for me, but like I said, it's finding what works for you before the interview. So moving on to point number 7. So preparing how, and it's our last point actually, but it's preparing how you'll act post interview. So I think this is a really important one actually, and it's probably one that doesn't get talked about enough. So, when it comes to planning for your interview, you should also take into consideration the whole time that you're going to be seen by potential employers. So, after all, recruiters will expect you to be professional throughout, including after you've left the interview room itself. So, it might be that you'll be shown around the offices potentially after your interview, or you'll maybe have a chance to chat with trainees or other members of staff. And just remember that their feedback may also count towards the organization's overall evaluation of you. So, you should be ready to talk and act in the same professional way as you would be during the interview, and come across as, interested and engaged and all that. And then also as well, the same goes for, a top tip for you as well. So you never know who's watching. So, if you ever need to let off steam or sing for joy, if you think it went really well, just make sure that you're a couple of streets, away from the employer's office before you really get let go, as you never know who's watching. And also the same goes for comments online. I know you've probably all heard about this a million times, but it is really important that you are mindful. Once you have been offered a job, that you're not putting anything that you're going to regret up later on social media. So just want to make you aware of. Brilliant, guys. So now, again, hopefully, we've gone through the process with you in terms of, who we are as a company, what we think are, key tips to get you through that professional services, process. So now we're going to move on to what we look for, okay, and also explaining the key competencies that we look for, and also to go through our recruitment process. So what do we look for? So we want ambitious people with a passion and motivation for both Mazars and also their chosen career path. So it's really important to us that, we're in alignment with that. So we look for people who like to work amongst a diverse team of people, engaging well with others whilst building strong working relationships. So throughout your interview and assessment process, we will ask ourselves, can you work well with other people? So are you a good team player? Do you have good attention to detail and the skills to interpret data or information? Do you have a passion and drive to succeed through professional examinations, balancing work and study life? And most importantly, do we share the same morals and values that at Mazars we pride ourselves on? So again, a top tip for you here. So if hopefully you do apply for a role with us later on, and if you do get through to the, to our assessment center process, just think about how you can, how you can show these skills off throughout the day, as all of these competencies are going to be assessed throughout the interview and assessment process. Okay, so moving on to our application and recruitment process. So what does that look like? So first of all, you will start off with your online application. So say, for example, after today, you think, oh my God, Mazars are amazing. I'd love to work with them. You'll go onto our website and have a look at applying, and you'll start up your online application. So you'll browse our vacancies and you'll choose a suitable location and opportunity that fits your career goals, and you'll complete your online application. So once you've done that, you'll be invited to take part in your online strengths assessment. So this will be an aptitude assessment. So it's going to be it's strengths assessment and a numerical reasoning test. So once you have submitted that, our recruitment team will then screen your online application and your score for your strengths assessments. And then hopefully at that point, you will be invited to take part in a telephone interview. So before you have your telephone interview with us, our recruitment team will get in touch to book in with you a coaching call. So this is before any of our interview stages. So they'll be in touch with you, and they'll set that up with you just to sort of go through and prepare you for the day, and I guess set you up for success. So and this is something that's completely unique to our market. So it's really just about giving you that, that extra help before interview to sort of set you up, and hopefully, you'll fly through that telephone interview. So as I said, hopefully you'll fly through that telephone interview and you'll be invited to our assessment center, which is the final stage within our application process. But before that, you will actually be given the opportunity to set up a mentoring call with one of our current trainees in the team. So if you were lucky enough to get to that stage, you will be able to speak to somebody who's on the ground doing the role that you're going to hopefully be doing, especially specific to that office and the team that you're going to be hopefully joining us with. So again, it's that last sort of touch point for you to be able to have a chat with them and really sort of squash out any questions that you've got, queries, and give you a really good understanding of the team and how your job would fit into that. So once you've had that mentoring call, well, as I said, you'll then attend our assessment centre. So these are virtual. So for us, it's really important that we are, inclusive to anybody who is joining us for an assessment centre. And running those virtually just gives us that opportunity, I guess, that flexibility to run these a little bit more flexibly for people who may have, caring commitments or non-visible disabilities, for example, and they need that extra support. So running those virtually really helps us in that respect. So obviously, yeah, at that point, you've finished your assessment centre with us. That's going to be a mixture of group exercise, a case study, and a one-to-one interview with a key member within the business. So again, different to the market, we actually give you the opportunity. So you will be interviewed with someone who is senior manager and above level. So that's going to be, again, another opportunity for you to speak to somebody who's within the business, within the team and the office that you're going to be joining, and give you, again, a really good insight into that job. So obviously, once you've got to that point, we will hope to have offered you a role. But that is an overview in terms of what our recruitment process looks like. So I'm hoping that's given you a really good understanding in terms of what we're looking for and how that process works. So Joe, if you wouldn't mind popping over to the next slide, that'd be brilliant. So we're going to wrap up the session now with a Q&A session. So this is your opportunity to ask our lovely team here that you can see on the screen any questions that you've got. As I said, they are the ones on the ground. They are within the team. They're there. So if you've got any burning questions, feel free to pop them in the chat for us and we'll field them. And if anyone's feeling a bit shy, I've got some questions ready to go so we can start with those. But let me just pop into the chat, and if anybody can see any questions, again, if you want to direct it, I'm wondering, guys, if it's worth, again, just giving everybody on the call a quick overview in terms of what team you're actually involved in, just in case anybody's forgotten, if that would be okay, if we want to follow the same suit. So Harvey, if you want to start us off just quickly again, so everyone knows who's on the call.
Yeah, that's fine. So I'm in the corporate tax team, which compared to audit and outsourcing services is actually quite a smaller team. So in the way the interview worked, it wasn't too much different in that aspect, but my day-to-day responsibility and sort of social interface and communication that I have can sometimes be on a bit of a smaller basis compared to auditing and outsourcing teams. But yeah, it's still good nonetheless.
That's great. Thanks so much, Harvey. And was it Joe next? Is that right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Joe. I work in the audit service line, privately owned business, be specific, but audit is one of our largest service lines at Mazars, and I work in Poole, so in the very most southern office.
That's great. Thanks so much, Joe. Sophie, I'll let you go next.
So I'm in audit, privately owned businesses in the London office. And also, whilst I have my microphone on, there was a question. So Saskia asked, how soon before the telephone interview will the coaching call be set up?
Oh, sorry,
as far
Sophie.
as I remember, can
Yeah.
you hear me? Is that okay? As
So
far
yeah,
as I
no, sorry.
remember, it's the call is the mentoring call is set up. Is set up before the assessment centre rather than the interview.
That is true. Yes. Yep. So
and
once you're invited,
sorry, the
sorry,
connection.
I'm so
Go
sorry.
on.
There's
No,
a bit
no,
of
no,
a
go on.
delay. I was just going to say, sorry, the question was, it had just cut out at the beginning there. Sorry. So the question was sort of how long, what's the sort of time frame of that? Was that the question? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
perfect.
when is the mentoring call?
I'm with you. So as soon as you get the the email to say that you are being invited to the assessment center, what it will do is it will send you a link to your portal. So everything's done via your personal application portal. So you will book on your slot with us at the assessment center times and dates that are on the diary for you to choose from. And then we will also send you a contact email for you to be able to message us and just say, this is when I've got my assessment center. I'm applying or interviewing for this role. Please, can you put me in touch with somebody? And then from our side of the business, we will then organize for somebody within the business to get in touch with you and set that up with you ahead of your assessment center with us. So it's normally a couple of days before your assessment center. So yeah, I hope that helps answer the question. Thanks, Sophie. I appreciate you picking that up. And then Nimita, just before we carry on, I'll let you introduce yourself quickly again.
Yeah, no worries. In fact, I can answer some of the questions.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I am in the privately owned business in audit with Sophie. I will get to that in in a bit. I just thought to quickly answer the visas. Yes, Mazars does sponsor visaship. I am an international. I'm from Malaysia. I graduated last year, and Mazars happily sponsored me. So if you're an international student studying in the UK, you don't have to worry. Mazars is happy to sponsor your visa. How is the next question? In the sense of how a privately owned business sector works in audit. So our clients are basically clients that are not listed on the stock exchange. You can't really find their financial statements online because they are, as the name suggests, privately owned businesses. My personal experience is that I have the chance to work with a variety of clients from different industry and services. And because they're on a smaller scale as compared to really massive clients, I have the chance to really have a very intrinsic client engagement. So I get the chance to work on my client premises. So most of the time, I'm actually on a client premise as opposed to the office. At one point, I didn't really see the inside of a Mazars office. I just saw my client side, which was very interesting because once you're there, you get the chance to learn a lot more about your client in a very personal way. You get the chance to really learn about their businesses, and because as a trainee, they love it when there's a junior on the team and they can talk to you all about their business and the way it works, and you learn a lot from the CEOs and the credit controllers and financial controllers. And I think that's pretty much about it from my experience in privately owned businesses. And I get the chance to change clients every few weeks. I'm not on them for very long. In fact, the current client I'm on, I'm booked on them for a month, and that's the longest I've ever been on before.
That's great. Thanks so much, Nimita. And I think that sounds as well, it's lovely to hear that you've got such a varied role and it's sort of ever changing and you're constantly working with new clients. So definitely there's no time for you to get bored by the sounds of it. That's great. I can see a couple of other questions as well as coming in. Sort of, how do you balance work with your studies? I don't know if anybody wants to pick that up at all. I know that you'll all probably be feeling, or you'll all know how that feels. So yeah, maybe you're the best to advise on that one, guys. I don't know who wants to pick up that one.
I don't mind. I don't mind talking about that one. I've actually just sat my second to last ones on the ACA, so I'm nearly done now. So I've got plenty of experience in that arena, and I can say that it can be difficult trying to balance work and studying at the same time. But Mazars never sort of encourage you to work more than your weekly hours. They're never pushing you for overtime in the evenings or in the mornings or on the weekends or anything like that. They very much promote a work-life balance. That includes hybrid working as well, so you don't have to always be in the office all week. So if studying at home works better for you, and then continuing to work at home during the day, you can do it that way. Or you can come into the office, and what I usually do is come into a meeting room a couple of hours in the morning and just work my usual 9 to 5. So yes, it can be difficult, and it's best to find a plan, the best way to sort of attack it over the month that you have before the exam. But it's most definitely doable, and Mazars will never sort of pressure you to prioritize work. They always, they understand for trainees that exams are the priority, and they're very flexible with how you structure your studies.
That's great. Thanks so much, Harvey. That's really, really helpful. I've seen a couple of other questions come in. I can see people are also responding as well, which is great. So thanks so much, guys. I think another one as well. Oh, bear with me one second. I've just seen another one. Yes, in regards to visas, just a quick win on that one. Yes, absolutely. We will sponsor your visa, as Nimita had spoken about before. So we would move you onto a skilled visa worker. A skilled worker visa, sorry, I should say. And that just means that you are obviously covered to work with us even after you have qualified through your studies and examinations, etc. So yes, and there are further details on that on our website as well. We've got a full FAQ page which will sort of go to explain all of the requirements, etc. for visa sponsorship. That's not a problem. So we've got one, Joe. I don't know if you want to pick this up, but I think this is quite a good one. So what is the career progression in an audit role like? I know obviously audit is sort of our biggest, service line within the firm. So there's obviously lots of different routes that you can go within audit, but I'll let you pick that up and answer that one before I go off on a path tangent.
So with audit, you start as a corporate assistant, you start training, and you more or less, depending on which route you go in, if you're a graduate or a school leaver, you're with the firm for that training contract for 3 or 5 years. Once you have that, you become qualified, you become an assistant manager by default. But from then on, you can either stay within the audit service line, progress up through manager to senior manager to potentially partner, or the firm does offer and allows you to go to different service lines with your qualification. So you can go to the outsourcing team, you can even second to different offices to do different things, or there are opportunities just to do whatever you want with that qualification because it is nationally known and accepted. There you go. I think
That's
that's
great.
yeah.
That was perfect. Thanks so much, Joe. Sorry, I couldn't get myself off mute quick enough. Harvey, I've got another one. I'm so sorry, girls. Feel free to answer if you do see anything come up. I've just seen another one that's tax related. So Harvey, probably best to pick up that one, I think. So just as how does the day-to-day task look like in the tax service line? Again, I'm conscious that tax obviously is again a big one for us, and we've got lots of different types of service lines. But yeah, quick overview if you can, perhaps.
Yeah. So tax, it kind of depends what area you're working. So obviously we have private client personal tax services, but we also have corporate tax services for businesses, which is where I work. And that is similarly to audit, that is split between industry and services and privately owned business, but it's sort of different definitions, which I won't delve into now. But the department is split into two effectively with corporate tax. And in terms of day-to-day roles, I mean, there's a lot of client facing. We're speaking to clients a lot of the time, corresponding on their behalf with HMRC as well. Basically, he's just trying to get the tax return in order every year. And we have a very large portfolio and a lot of clients. And one of my favorite things about tax is that you're kind of doing something different every day. There is a lot of legislation, which I know is a boring word, but it definitely is interesting. And since I've joined the firm 4 years ago, I still enjoy every day that I.
Yeah, that's great.
So the day is definitely a lot of client facing.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I think that's really helpful. And I can imagine probably quite rewarding as well, because we're not talking about, Joe Blogs giving a £10 tax return. It's millions of pounds that you're saving companies, can't it be, on a daily basis?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, some of the tax liabilities that you deal with can be incredibly huge. That's why it's good to have good client relationships when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah. And that goes back to our good people wheel, doesn't it? Good work creates good clients and good reward in return. I've got also, I can see there's a couple more coming to the chat, but I just have a couple of questions really for the wider team, if that's okay. Just because I can see the team are answering as well on the chat for us. So Sophie, I'm going to pick on you if that's okay. And I think this one might be quite a nice one. But why did you choose your chosen service line? I'm just conscious that you're probably one of our newest recruits on the call. So what made you choose the service line that you did when you were looking at your roles?
So I think a key thing here is research what you're going into, not just the financial services. Research every single one that sounds interesting to you. Reach out to people. If you know somebody who is in audit, let's say, or is in tax, reach out to them, be it just online on LinkedIn, let's say, or somebody in person. Just speak to them, ask what they do on a day-to-day, what their job entails, and see whether that's something you would enjoy, whether you can see yourself doing that every single day for the next few years or for the rest of your life, for that matter. I applied to quite a few programs in different companies in different cities, and I mainly applied to audit and consulting. So those are my top options. Again, considering the person I am, the qualities I have, and what sounds interesting to me. But then also there's a question of most programs I think kind of you can go into audit, and that's it, that's your job title. But Mazars had audit POB and audit industry, so you would need to research those even more. And if you do want to succeed, I think that's something that will make you stand out even more, knowing what you're going into, what you're going to be required to do.
Yeah, because
And
the thing is,
also, yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
go on, Sophie. I'll let you finish that. Absolutely fine. I'm
I was
terrible
just going
today,
to say
sorry.
that there's another question that I started typing, and I thought it might be
Oh,
easier
brilliant.
to
Yeah, go for it.
say.
You might as well. Absolutely
The
fine.
mentoring call. I actually have one today coming up later on. So the mentoring call does not necessarily count as part of you're not given, let's say, brownie points for it. It is there to help you. It is to help the candidate succeed in their assessment center. However, I think any good impression counts. If you're talking to a current trainee, it is likely that if you do succeed, you will be working with them next year or whenever you join the firm. So you do want to start building that good relationship. So it doesn't give you points. It doesn't mean that you'll succeed or won't, but it is something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point made, Sophie, as well. It is a service that we provide. It's not in any way, nothing, in those conversations is sort of taken back into your, your performance through interview or anything like that. It's just an extra measure for you, if you are somebody who just wants that little bit more support, or if you're just curious and you want to have that conversation. I think, Sophie, as you said, we want you to be kind of getting to that assessment center stage and really be, keen, and what you're coming in for, the role that you're applying for, and that you're really passionate about to go for it, basically. So it's just a final extra step for you, really. Perfect. Now, Namita, I had a question for you as well. I'm conscious that you obviously came through us, from an, you came through us internationally. What made you decide to apply at Mazars? What really stuck out for you, sort of when you were looking at other firms, which I'm assuming you did. I think most people tend to, don't they?
Personally, I think what made me apply to Mazars and what I chose Mazars over the other firms was, as basic as it sounds, is definitely the culture that really stood out to me. So I have this process of when I apply to firms, I like to chat to people that work within the firms, because it's one thing to read about the company culture online, but I think it's a whole new level when you get the chance to talk to someone that works within the firm. So I remember I reached out to a few people who worked within Mazars, just a casual chat with them, just to ask about tips and applications and generally how the culture was. And everyone got back to me with the most basic, most common thing, that Mazars definitely has a culture that is unlike any other place. And working with Mazars for 6 months, I can definitely vouch for that. I think it's also the whole application process itself that supports you right from the very start. I've been through a few other application process with other companies, but I've never quite come across one like Mazars. For example, I made it to my telephone interview, and of all days, I think my network provider was down that day. So whenever the interviewer had called me to have a chat with me, they just could not hear me. And I'd be screaming down the phone my answers, but they just could not hear me. And I remember thinking, this is it, that I'm gone for. They're not going to entertain me. And I remember they said that, look, we can't hear you. I need to get to other interviews. We'll call you on a Monday. And I remember thinking, oh, I had to sit here the whole weekend and just wait anxiously. But literally 5 minutes later, I get a call from them saying, look, we feel really bad. We really want to have this interview with you. Is there another number you could provide for us? And thankfully, I was at my sister's. I gave them my sister's number, and I had an interview with them. And literally the next day, on a Saturday, I get a reply saying, "Oh, we'd like to move you forward to the assessment center stage." And that really impacted me. Like something small like that, I still carry with me forward, because it could have gone any other way. They couldn't have bothered. They could have just said no. They could have just carried on and interviewed a lot of other candidates. But the fact that Mazars was really supportive, and they really understood that I will not do this to her over the weekend. I just want to get it over with. It really meant a lot to me. And then even throughout, when I finished my interview and I got a call from them explaining to me, okay, this is what to expect from assessment center. Just be aware that these are the things you should look out for. And the fact that it's just really supportive. So I was quite happy applying to Mazars, and I was quite happy accepting the offer. Yeah.
That's
So that
brilliant.
was
That's so lovely to hear. Thank you so much. I think that's a lovely, it's probably a lovely place to stop, actually. It was very complimentary, wasn't it? So I'm just going to pop up on the next screen. I have to apologize. It should say placement and graduate opportunities in the below service lines. But it's just to give you a bit of an idea in terms of the, like I said, obviously, as we've discussed, the opportunities that we have. So we've got the QR code on the screen for you. So that will take you through to our jobs website. So I know there's a couple of people in the chat who've already sort of said that they are currently going through the application process. That's brilliant. We wish you the best of luck. If you've got any questions as well, please do ping them on to our Mazars Careers email. That will be on our website as well. And also, if not, feel free to have a little look, have a browse. And if you've got any questions about any of our roles, please do get in touch. Okay, guys. So if your question for whatever reason hasn't been answered on the webinar, like I said, please do feel free just to get in touch and to ping us a message. Otherwise, we will hopefully look forward to receiving your applications. So I just want to say a big thank you to everybody for attending today's session, and big thank you to all of my team for taking time out of your days to help support us with this. So we'll give you an extra minute back of your lives. You can have it. There you go. We're very generous, and enjoy the rest of your afternoons, and we'll hopefully hear from you soon. So thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye-bye.